And there we are, we're recording. So welcome to episode 9,732 of Painting Through the Pandemic. I'm Shauna Sue. I own Cricket Door Studio in Uptown Marysville. The studio has been closed since mid-March-ish, and I just don't feel it's safe to open yet. People have asked me when I'm going to open. I don't know. I was hoping this month, but anytime I'm in the studio, I start to get nervous because, yes, while we're at the studio, we can spread out, we can wear our masks, we can do things to stay safe. But while we're in the studio, we're there for usually between 2 and 3 hours. And that really increases our risk of transmitting something. So we're going to stay closed a little while longer, but we'll continue to do this. So thank you all for joining me tonight. Let's run through, first things first, thank you to everyone that has donated. Through your donations, that's what's helping keep the studio open. So I really do appreciate that. You guys are helping me pay my rent so we can open the space back up again someday when it's safe for all of us. If you would like to donate to the studio, check out the chat box on Zoom. I have listed out at the top of that big long message that I put out. You can donate through PayPal, Venmo. You can write a check, you can drop a check in the mail, or just drop it off at the studio in the supply box in the back breezeway. With that said, if you need supplies, just let me know what you need. I'm happy to get you whatever you need, and I can leave it in the supply box for you. It's contactless pickup. You can pick up whenever it works for you. Okay? It's a little lock code. I give you the code. You go get your stuff. It's all very safe and very, I don't know where I'm going with that. But anyway, if you need supplies, let me know. Okay, you're going to see me do this a lot tonight. I have flies. Not personally, but in the house. They have decided to move inside. So I'm going to do this a lot. All right, let's run through our supply list. Just like if we were at the studio, I always want to make sure I have everything I need before I get started, okay? So first things first, the paint that I'm using, it's acrylic paint. It's water-based, water-soluble. If I get it on my clothes and it dries, it's really hard to get out. So make sure you have an apron or a paint shirt. Also check your surroundings. I know we're all painting at home or at a friend's house right now. It's really easy when you're painting to flick off the edge of your canvas and splatter paint. It's real easy to do that. So check your surroundings, make sure you don't have out anything that you would be worried about getting paint on. Vesta, check it out. Make sure everything's safe. All right, cool. Okay, so I just blew the privacy thing out of the water, right? I'm gonna say your name all night tonight, Vesta, and it will forever be in the YouTube recording. You're welcome. Okay. So I have a paint shirt, I have an apron, I've checked my surroundings, everything's good. The painting that we're going to do tonight, I usually have a picture of it. I don't have that, my printer flaked out, but you can see, if you look at gallery view on Zoom, you can see my other person, my other me. I have the picture there for you to reference. I also have it pulled up on my laptop a little bit bigger. For those of you that haven't joined us before, you'll see me looking off to the side a lot. That's because I'm looking at my laptop where I can see all of you. I'm recording on my phone and my phone is this big, but I can see you all on my laptop over there. With that said, I keep my chat box open. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to pop it in the chat box. I'll look over there occasionally and try to keep up with questions going on in the chat box. Canvas. So the canvas that I have tonight is a 16 by 20 stretched. If you got supplies from me, that's what you have tonight. We're gonna wanna make sure and try to remember to paint our edges. It always looks nice when your painting is wrapped all the way around your canvas. And then that way when you're done, you don't have to do anything else with it. You don't have to frame it, you don't have to do anything, it's finished. So I will try to remind you, I'm really bad at painting my edges, but I'll try to remind you to paint your edges as we go. This painting, I think, works really well on a vertical canvas. You could flip it sideways if you want, but I think it's gonna work really well on a vertical canvas. I'm afraid if you flip it horizontal, our sisters might get really pudgy really fast. So I'm going to stay vertical to keep them nice and tall and skinny. Okay, but that's up to you. So apron, canvas, brushes. I have just an assortment of brushes, but it's going to be really helpful if you have some kind of a big brush. We're going to use this for our broad strokes to cover the background, to fill the moon. So you've got a big brush. I have a couple medium brushes here, just something that I can work on their dresses with, work on their bodies. I also have a pointy brush. I'm going to need that, especially when it comes to, I'm going to get their names wrong, so I'm going to call her blonde Sarah. Her blonde hair, I'm going to need this. When I get into maybe putting designs on those dresses, I'm going to need this pointy brush. The curls in Winifred's hair, right? So that's what I'm working with tonight. I just have an assortment of brushes. I also have a toothbrush. I don't remember if I put that in the supply list or not, but Sarah, Winifred, and Mary. See, Danny, you're going to have to remind me through the night because I always get their names. I always get Winifred, but I always have to think about Sarah and Mary. So if you have a way to help me remember who's who, that would be great. I have a toothbrush that I might use for the stars. I'm going to set it to the side. You can see I still have my brushes in my hand though. I have a water cup that's halfway full with cool or cold water. And I have my brushes in my hand because I'm going to dump them in there and leave them in there. While I'm painting, that's a good place for them to rest so they don't dry out. Okay, so there's my brushes. Paper towels down here to block my brushes off on. I'm just going to set my toothbrush off to the side. I also have a pencil. I'm going to use this right off. I'll show you that in a minute. Paint pen. I always like to keep a paint pen in my paint bag so I can sign my paintings with a paint pen. Just something that rolls around in my paint bag. Oh, Sandy, that's good. Sarah is sexy. Mary is matronly. I'll remember that. That's a good one. Thank you. I have a male friend that we were talking about dressing up like the Sanderson sisters, and he said he wasn't out at the time, and he said, I'm more of a Mary, if you know what I mean. So now every time, which I think was referring to him, he was coming out to me as being gay before he came out to anyone else. So then I'm like, I don't know why, but that messes with me because he doesn't look like Mary, but he might look like, anyway. So that's why I always have to think about it. So pencil and paint pen. Those of you that have never joined us before are like, what is she talking about? I'm going to ramble all night tonight. It's what I do, which would be no different if I were at the studio. So let's talk about paint. On my palette tonight, I just have a lovely assortment. I have white. You can't see it on there because it's on a white plate. There we go. I'm using blockout white, bright yellow. I think it might be chrome yellow is the name of it. Chrome orange, bright red, phthalo blue, phthalo green, and Mars black. I have these specific colors because they're going to help me mix and get what I need. You might be working with other things, but if you got paint from the studio, this is what you got. You also, if you got paint from the studio, you might have gotten browns, just because I wasn't sure. It's always good to have just in case. Let's talk a little bit for just a minute about mixing. So the reason that you got bright red and phthalo blue is because those two will mix together lovely and give you a nice purple when we get into sexy Sarah's dress. Thank you, Sandy, I needed that. When we get into Sarah's dress, that'll give us a really nice purple. You have phthalo green because when we get into Winifred's dress, phthalo green mixes really nice with yellow and white, and it'll give you a lovely lime color. So it's nice to start with phthalo green and add in a little yellow and white to get kind of limey. Do you see I have my movie on in the background? It just makes me happy hearing it. So that's the reason you got the colors you got. Something else that you're going to need right away is an extra plate. I'm going to reach over here Get an extra plate. So let's talk about how this painting is going to work. So we're going to start by tracing where the moon is going to go. I know, Danny, I'm not sure how long the movie is. It's not 2 hours though. So at some point we may have to restart it. And depending on if you pre-partied, your movie may be further in than mine. So I think the way we're going to start this, I'm going to start with the plate. I'm going to trace it with my pencil very lightly to get the moon. I'm going to paint around the background. I'm going to paint the sky and paint the moon. And then we'll start building forward from there. We'll put the sisters on there. We'll put some stars in the sky. We'll build it up that way. So that's kind of how this painting's going to work. So first things first, before we get started with our paint, find an extra plate, or you can use a dinner plate in the kitchen, whatever you have. And if I look, I know I keep starting and then turning back. If I look at the original painting, Winifred's hair is real close to the middle of the moon. So if I try to map this out, and I put my plate right here, Winifred's head is going to be up here close to the middle, and this is all going to be body and dress swooshy at the bottom. If that feels too tall for you, if it feels like they're going to be too tall and skinny, you can move it down a little bit. Up to you. Think about that. This painting is only our inspiration, right? Our paintings aren't going to look exactly like that picture. It's going to be our version of. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put mine with maybe 3-ish fingers at the top, and then center it left and right, and very lightly with my pencil, I'm going to trace it very lightly. This is where the buddy system comes in handy. Have your buddy help you hold. And I know you probably can't see that, but it's on there very lightly. Okay. So let's take a minute to do that. Now I can set this plate to the side because it's still a good plate. Okay. And now Winifred's, I'm not sketching it, but I'm getting an idea. So Winifred's head's going to be up here, and her neck and her shoulders. This is all going to be swishy dresses down at the bottom. I think that's going to work. I think it's going to work. All right. So let's work on the background first, shall we? So let's find our biggest brush, and we're going to paint that background. If you have new brushes, squish them around in the water cup a little bit. Tap them in the bottom. New brushes, when they come from the factory, they come with a starch on them that keeps them nice and straight and tight during shipping. So you want to get that out of there. I have an old brush, so I'm tapping him in there because he's probably got a little paint residue left over in him. I want to soften him up. And let's dry him out. Dry him off on your paper towel. And let's start up here around the top. It's going to be nice and dark up here, and it's going to get a little lighter as we go down. So anytime I take paint, I'm always going to go in the edge, never the middle, always the edge. So I'm going to pull a big brush stroke of blue and a big brush stroke of black and a tiny bit of white, just a teeny tiny bit, just a little. And I'm not mixing them. I'm going to let them mix on my canvas. And let's go right around that moon. It's almost like we're putting a black wig on our moon. I'm only going to pull down about that far. Here's the bottom of my moon. So I'm not going to pull much further down than bottom of the moon. Oh, and edges. Don't forget your edges. So get up there, get that tippy top. That side. And again, blue. Big swipe of blue, some black, and a tiny bit of white. Just a tiny, tiny bit of white. The white will help that blue really pop. Without the white, that blue kind of gets lost. Oh. So now remember, we're using really dark colors, right? So every now and then, change the pitch on your canvas to make sure you're getting all those little speckles filled in. You want to use enough paint to fill in your canvas. And I feel like I've already decided I might make my moon a little bigger, but that's okay. I can do that with the white of the moon here in a little bit. You see how my brush strokes all just wrapped around that moon? And as I come down here, I'm pulling down and letting go. So I have this very feathery edge. That's going to make it a lot easier for me to blend. Oh, edges. Yeah. Now, when you're ready to move on, we're going to keep going. We're going to head on down. And I'm not going to rinse my brush out. I'm just, because I want a little bit of black to be left in there, but I'm not going to get more black. So I just want to add some blue and a little more white to get it lighter as we go down. So with my dirty brush, blue, and a little more white than I have been using. I'm gonna wrap around the bottom of the moon. And the way to get those two to blend together, I'm using that big brush skinny ways, and I'm gonna go up into the old section and down into the new. The thing to remember about this is acrylic paint blends while it's wet. Once it's dry, it will not blend. So you may feel like I've maybe rushed a little bit to get to this point, but I'm doing it so this paint here at the sides of my moon will still be wet so I can show you how to blend. Okay. So again, blue, a little more white, blue, a little more white. Let's finish it out down there, getting it lighter blue as we go. And you may wonder why I'm filling this in down here if this is all going to be covered with dresses. It's because acrylic paint generally, unless you're using something different than I am, acrylic paint generally is pretty thin. And if I don't bring that paint the rest of the way down, you'll be able to see behind their dresses where my background stopped. So I want to make sure and take that background all the way down. And then that way, if I do have a gap in between their dresses, my background will be covered. So it's kind of twofold. That's the reason I'm taking this all the way down. We'll have to put in dry time to let that dry before we put dresses on there. but it's worth it to have that color all the way down. To have that seamless feel. And edges, don't forget your edges. It's easier to do them now than it is to try to match them later. Okay. Oh, that makes me happy. Yeah, that makes me super happy. Yabos. I just got to the yabos part. Okay. So we'll keep going. At the end of this piece, your whole canvas should be covered except for the moon. So make sure you got all your edges. Even pick it up, make sure you get that bottom edge. Again, it's easier to do it now while you have that color on your brush than it is to try to match it up later, okay? So I see you guys are just painting away. Makes my heart happy. All my painty people. That's awesome. Thank you, Danny's husband. Isn't it weird I don't know your name, but it's Danny's husband. Thank you, Danny's husband. Is it Scott? No. Oh, Josh, I actually knew that. I did know that. It's your other husband's name. His name is Scott, right? Dude, we only need one husband, right? One is enough. Okay. So we'll take a little more time. Make sure that background's all filled in. You're right, Danny. I don't know how ladies with more than one friend do it, because one's enough for me. I love my husband to the ends of the earth. I love that man, but one's enough. Okay, so I'm going to step over here and get this other edge. And then I'm going to pop my brush in my water cup. I know there are different points that people like to have clean water in their water cup. This is not time yet. I'll let you know when it's time to go get clean water, but a little, oh, I'm a fibber. Not a fibber. I was just thinking how we're going to do this. Should we do the moon and stars, or should we do stars and then the moon? Because if we do stars first, we're going to want clean water. Things to ponder. I don't know. Does anybody have a take on that? Do we want moon and then stars, or stars and then moon? Should we have stars in front of the moon? Stars then moon. See, that's kind of what I was thinking, Emily. Thank you. Okay, so let's do stars. Yep. Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Kim. So stars then moon. So I'm going to clean my brush out. I'm going to knock the paint off of it. And then I'm going to go get clean water, because we have to thin our white paint down a little bit to get it to come off the brush for stars. And if we thin it down with dirty water, we're going to have dirty stars. I don't want dirty stars. I want nice, bright, white stars. So let's go get clean water. Let's go rinse out, get clean water, and then we'll come back and do stars, and then we'll be on a lovely dry break. Okay? So clean water, a little bit of clean white for the next step. And how about 5 minutes? 7:35, we'll come together and we'll talk stars. Okay? 7:35. Clean water, clean white. Okay. All right. It's funny, isn't it? I feel like I should mention this. So this session is being recorded. So if you get to the point that you're like, oh, it's just not working out, you're just not feeling it, stop. It's okay. Put your brushes down, clean your stuff up, walk away. I am recording it. The video will be posted to YouTube sometime tomorrow, fingers crossed. Sometime tomorrow I'll get it posted up so you can come back to it later. So if it's not going well, just stop, right? Art is supposed to be fun and relaxing and I think soothing, sometimes challenging, but not frustrating. So I say all that to say, I'm just like you. There are days that paint just doesn't work for me, which is a challenge when you own a studio and you get paid to paint. But as I'm looking at my background, I'm like, oh, this feels good tonight. I like what I've got going on down here. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Could change at any minute, but for now, I'm feeling pretty good. So all of that to say, I'm just like you, right? I have good paint days and bad paint days, and I never know when it's going to happen. So if you're having a bad paint day, just put your stuff down, grab a beverage, hang out for a little bit, come back to it later. So 7:35, we'll move on. So we've got about 4 minutes. We're going to put the stars on next. So if you have a toothbrush, it's time to find it. It's time to dig it out. Use your husband's toothbrush. I won't tell. I never throw away my old toothbrushes when I'm done with them, when I replace them. I just throw them in my paint bag. You know, when this whole pandemic first started, I did 10-minute technique Tuesdays. And I've not, oh, tell her I said hi, honey. Hi, Mary. I probably should have said it here. Hi, Mary. I was looking at the laptop. I never throw away my brushes. I always like toss them in my paint bag. Back when this first started, I did 10-minute technique Tuesdays just to show you different techniques and to help with some things. I feel like I need to do a 10-minute technique Tuesday and show you what's in my paint bag. Because a lot of us have been painting more and more now that we're spending more time at home. Should show you what's in my paint bag. Maybe not today, because I don't know what I have in there. Maybe that would be fun. I know I have like 15 wine corks in there. We've been a bit of a wine drinker through the pandemic. So anyway, never throw away an old toothbrush, just throw it in your paint supplies. So about 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. You need, if you have a toothbrush, that would be lovely. If not, you can use a regular brush. It's a little more challenging. Clean water, a little bit of clean white paint. Oh, yes, that's a good idea. Good idea, Danny. Okay, so one more minute and we'll talk about stars. We'll talk about splattering stars, and I'll give you probably a good 10 minutes to do that so you can step outside if you need to. So, oh, it's star time. Okay, here we go. Oh, let me get my lid on here so I don't have a catastrophe. There we go. Okay, so let me talk to you about splattering, and then I'll give you until quarter till, because you may want to go outside, step away from where you're at, because it's really easy if you're using a toothbrush to splatter. You may think that you're directing it right on your painting, but some of those flicks will come up this way. Some of them will go beyond where you intend. So I'll give you until 7:45 to get your splatter down if you need to step away. Okay, so I have my toothbrush. I have clean water because the color of my water will change the color of my paint. And I have some clean white right there. So anytime I splatter, I'm going to take this toothbrush, I'm going to go in my water cup, tap, tap, tap. So I have a little bit of water in the brush, but not a lot. Take a chunk of paint, that a big old chunk, and come over here to a clean spot on my plate and scrub, scrub, scrub. I'm using that little bit of water in that toothbrush to thin that paint down just a little bit. Too watery and it'll run, too thick and it won't come off the brush. Get the chunks out, tap those chunks out. And then hold your brush bristles up, point it toward your painting, toward your canvas, and pull your finger across it. And if you pull your bristles back this way, the paint will fly back that way. Okay? So I'm actually going to shield it here. And splattering is one of those things. You have to be okay with whatever happens. Right? Sometimes you get a line. I'm just going to call it a constellation. I got a weirdo constellation there. I'm good with that. Okay? If you don't have a toothbrush, if you just have a regular brush, same thing. Take your brush, clean it out, dry it off, thin your paint down a little bit. And then you can take that brush with that little bit of thin down paint on it and hit it on something. I have my pencil. I can hit it. Right? That works too. Okay, so 7:45 we'll come back together. My stars are all up here. You can put some down low. Not going to do much good though, because the ladies are going to be there, the sisters are going to be there, and their dresses are going to cover. So mostly up and around the moon. Okay, so we've got 7 minutes. Splatter like the wind. Okay, so about another 5 minutes. I want to give everybody plenty of time. At the same time, this is giving us time to let our background dry a little bit, because we can't put dresses on there until that background's dry. So sad. I'm that annoying person that quotes the movie that I've seen a million times. Sorry. Oh, we're on a drying break. It's totally normal, right, Danny? As long as everybody else has seen it. I would be the first person to get really freaking annoyed if it's a movie I've never seen and somebody beside me is quoting it. It's kind of a little hypocrisy there. Sorry. So I think we're going to do the moon next. And then we'll start building on top of that. Oh, what I started to say, we haven't talked dinner yet. Emily, what's for dinner? Oh, Mandy, yours is a little behind mine. I'll just have to start mine over, that's all. This time of year, it's on a constant loop. That and Harry Potter. Mandy, I was thinking about you the other night. I need to see your sleeve. Ooh, that sounds good, Emily. Apple spice wine. What kind of apple spice wine? Is it Witch's Brew? Yeah, you found some. So after I put that post out, all my friends have been sending me apple spice and pumpkin spice. Okay, Mandy, I need to see your I need to see it. I need to make an appointment with Mike because I still have a naked arm. So I think this arm is going to be all my favorite nature things. So Luna moth, maybe a bat. I'm not sure. I already have a bat over here. Tree frog, bluebird, my favorite nature things. And a full sleeve. I'm going to run out of skin here before long. Oh, I think you should. Yeah. Oh my God, a chicken. I think at this point, I would get a chicken tattooed on my behind because that's kind of how I'm feeling about chickens right now. Okay, so we still have 2 minutes, by the way. So the chickens, I love my chickens. I have 29 chickens. If you don't know, Vern found a home. Vern has his own ladies now, so we're down to 2 roosters, and they're doing fine. They each have their own sets of ladies. and they're fenced in because we live in the country and we have a lot of predators. So they have an electric fence, and somehow 3 of the girls, Amber always does her own thing, and then Mr. T and De Niro are always outside the fence. I don't know how they're getting out. So every night when I go to tuck them in for bed, I have to go and find chickens, and they roost in weird places. The one was on top of the people gate, which is like probably 7 foot high, just roosted up there, sleeping. The other night, the other one was in the hostas. Chickens. So if I'm getting a chicken tattoo, it's going on my rump. That would be kind of funny, wouldn't it? Marie, do you want to go with me to that appointment? Like, Mike, I have an idea. This is where it's good to have a good tattoo artist and friend. Okay, 1 more minute. As soon as that hits 7:45, we're going to move on to the moon. Oh, the bus. A bus. Oh, bus driver's so creepy. Oh my God, chicken butt. That'd be funny, wouldn't it? You want to be there when I have that talk with my tattoo artist, right? Oh my goodness, Gretchen, how did you live 31 years without Hocus Pocus? You know, in all honesty, I didn't get Hocus Pocus till I was an adult, though. Okay, 7:45. Let's put the moon on there, shall we? So if you look at the original picture, it's a lot of fun, right, Gretchen? And now you get all the inside Hocus Pocus jokes. So if you look at the original picture, it's lighter here. It's lighter on the top and left, and it's kind of shadowy on the bottom right. If we paint that moon all white like a bright moon, it's just kind of boring. So we're going to start with white, and then we're going to start to add in tiny bits of black. Tiny bits of black, because before we know it, if we're not careful, we'll have a completely gray moon. It'll be like real dark and out of control. So we're going to start with a lot of white, and then when I say it's time, we'll add a tiny bit of black. Okay? So big brush, clean it out, dry it off. Use clean white. Clean white over here. And I'm going to paint my moon in like a bullseye, round and around and around and around to the middle. So just white for now. Round and around and around. I smell children. Party pooper. Okay. So now remember, acrylic paint blends while it's wet. Once it's dry, it will not blend. Once acrylic paint dries, it turns to plastic, essentially. I'm not a chemist. Okay. So I've got it all filled in white. And we said bright white on the top left, shadowed on the bottom and the right. So I've got white on my brush. I might even get a little more. And I'm going to start because it's going to get real dark real fast if you're not careful. So I'm going to take this brush with the white on it, and I'm just going to creep barely into that black, just a tiny, tiny bit. Like that's plenty. That's plenty to start with. And right here along the right and the bottom in the moon, let's blend in some of that gray. And I'm working my way in toward the middle. That's really hard to see, so I'm going to get closer here for this next swipe. So white and a tiny bit of black. And I'm going to set that brush halfway up on the right side, down and around. And then I'm going to work my way back to the middle. So subtle. Okay. So now you can leave your moon at that if you want, or you can get some fun texture in it. You can crumple up a paper towel. You can scribble some different directions. I'm taking the time with white, the tiniest bit of black, and I'm just kind of scribbling different directions, being sure to keep it darker down here on the bottom right. Stay erratic and stay irregular. Otherwise, your moon's going to look like it's got polka dots. A lot of white, a tiny bit of black. And do you see how I'm starting? Every time I start that, I'm starting at the bottom right to make sure it's darkest down there. And it still stays lighter at the top and the left. You'll be younger in the morning. Oh, that's fun. I like the texture that's happening there. It really is just scribbles, right? Some lighter, some a little darker. Oh, it would be kind of fun with this to do. It just occurred to me to do a little mashup and to do a like a real subtle Jack Skellington face in the moon. That would be kind of fun. Mashups are fun because there are no rules, right? So at this point, as I do this, I'm just adding black, but if you need to add white, you can, right? There's no rules here. The only rule I would say we have is to try to stay a little darker on the bottom right and a little lighter on the top left. But it's really not even a rule, right? Okay. Weirdos. Okay, so I think I've done all I can do there. I don't know. I'm going to clean my brush out and take a little clean white right along the top and the left, and then call it done. And then our next step is going to be to start putting the sisters on there. So how about 8 o'clock? We'll start on the sisters. You're gonna wanna make sure your canvas is dry. So 8 o'clock, we'll come back with a dry canvas. We'll do a little anatomy lesson real quick, just so we can talk about shapes. And then we'll start putting our sisters on there. So 8 o'clock, we'll start on sisters with a dry canvas. Okay. So I'm going to step away and go to the blow dryer. That's kind of what my moon looks like finished. Right, I just scribbled some gray in there. Again, keeping it lighter top left, darker bottom and right. That helps give us a little moon dimension. Okay. And I'm going to head to the blow dryer. I still have a little bit of blue down here that's wet. Oh, fun, Andrea. You'll have to show me in a little bit. You have to send me a picture. I'm going to go dry this too, because I'm probably going to start with Winifred's head. That's because we know her hair is close to the middle, down a little bit right there in the middle of the moon. So I'm going to want that dry. So I'm going to disappear to the blow dryer. 8 o'clock, we'll be back and we'll do a little anatomy lesson and we'll start sketching our ladies on there. And now we want the things I do. I like. Oh, Emily, my husband just messaged me and said it's Benny's salad night. So excited. I'm kind of jealous of your spinach dip, but Benny's salads are always good. I do love me a Benny salad. I'm kind of excited to see which one he brings home. So I don't know if I've mentioned this here or not. We've been doing surprise dinners where my husband goes, he doesn't tell me where he's going. He goes to a restaurant and he picks something up and just brings it home. And it's something neither he nor I have ever had. So last night we had from Benny's, is it a ranchero pizza? I think he said it's ranchero. So it was like chicken bacon ranch. It's really good. A couple weeks ago, we had a gyro pizza from Benny's. That was better than the ranchero. Okay, another minute or so. You know, something we haven't talked about tonight is fire pit. For those of you that know me, you know I put in a my pandemic project this summer was spring, summer, fall, was put in a fire pit. I just looked out back and I have a fire. I didn't build a fire. I think it might still be burning from last night. It's a perpetual fire pit. It just burns all the time. But that's the beauty of a pit. It's in the ground. It can't travel. I know, Marie. I know, right? I do this a lot. Okay. Here we go. So let's talk about anatomy real quick. Because the ladies they're all the same, right? We have a head that's an oval. We need to give them a little neck, shoulders. Oh, Montana. Try the Montana. Oh, Sandy, now I'm curious. You have to tell me what's on the Montana. So we have shoulders, and then their torso is kind of an upside down triangle, kind of. And then their dresses come out from there. If we look at the original painting, Winnie's in the middle, Winifred's in the middle, and her dress comes down to, I don't know, just below her butt. And then we don't see it. And then the other two, Sarah's and Mary's dresses, swoop in front of her. So we don't see a lot of Winnie's dress. So let's talk about what this is going to look like. So each one of the ladies, they're the same but different, right? Winifred's she's a little wider, she's a little older. Sarah, sexy Sarah on the right, she's very thin and wispy. And Matronly Mary on the left, I love that, Sandy, thank you. Matronly Mary on the left, she's a little shorter and she's a little stout. The original picture that I'm looking at, I don't think they have her stout enough, but that's just me. We'll see what happens. So if we're talking anatomy, you're going to have an oval for a head. Let me get close here. An oval for a head. You're going to give them a neck. Shoulders that are going to be wider than their head. And then their torso shape kind of comes in like a triangle-ish. And then their dresses, where their waists are, they go out from there. That's the general shape. And then we'll build on that. If you want to give Winifred arms, pull off of her shoulder. Right? Pull off the shoulder. And then we'll start putting their hair on. So Winifred's hair is a big heart. But this is the general shape that we're going to go with. So all of our paint is very transparent. The paint that I use is student grade paint, and it's very transparent. So to get a nice solid base under, I'm going to do it all in white first, and then lay the colors over top of that white. The other way to do it would be to mix white in every color, and then they're going to be too light depending on the amount of white we mix in. So I'm going to do I'm going to do the base of all of them in white first, and then we'll start layering their colors on. So let's start with Winifred in the middle. Find one of your medium brushes, whichever one makes you happy. So I've got my medium filbert here. And let's start with Winifred's head. So find the middle of your moon and come down, knowing that her shoulders are going to be right around the bottom of the moon. Okay. So this is going to be hard to see because I'm going to paint white on the moon. But let's start with her oval head. Okay, I know that's hard to see. There we go. It's her oval head. Give her a neck. And I'm not getting into detail here. This is just the base of her body. We'll put more into it later. And give her shoulders. And then remember, her body's a triangle. And then at her waist, she's going to flare out. And I'm going to fill this all in to give her a nice solid base to lay my color on. I'm going to give her arms too. Remember, the arms pull off the shoulders. Off the shoulders. Okay. I'm going to fill this in with white. Okay, so let's fill that in. And that's my basis for Winifred. Chicks. And I've got this lovely white base that looks a little weird right now, but it's going to be really nice to be able to lay that green on top. Okay. So then let's see, what should we do? Should we move on to Sarah next? Sexy Sarah. So her head's a little smaller, just a little smaller, not a lot. She's a little bit shorter. She's a little narrower. Okay. I'm going to have to step over here to get her straight. So her head is close to the moon-ish. She's a little shorter. Her head's a little skinnier. Not as round as Winnie's. Give her a neck. And I'm going to give her skinny shoulders. And a long, skinny triangle torso. And then at her waist, her dress is really going to flare out. It's going to come all the way out to this side. And it's going to swoop all the way down in front of Winnie's. And I'm going to give her skinny little arms too. Give her a skinny arm here. And a skinny arm there. And then Matronly Mary. She's a little shorter than Winnie too. Her head's a little rounder. Her chubby little neck, chubby shoulders, triangle body. And her dress sweeps in front of Winnie's also. Doomed. Goodbye, world. Oh, I'm gonna give Mary arms. The other girls have arms. Mary needs arms too. So she actually has an arm reaching over to Winnie. I don't know how to do that. I think I'm gonna do her arms just like the other girls. Out and down. They feel very very Wonder Woman that way, with their arms just like on their hips. Okay, I'll give you a few more minutes to do that. I'm going to get a little more white paint, and I'm going to go ahead and with white put their hair on there to give their hair a nice background. Everybody breathing. Just looked over and everybody's so super focused. I know human torsos are challenging, but we remind ourselves that this is not, we're not going for realism, right? This is the idea of the Sanderson sisters. And as long as we get Winnie in a green dress, Sarah in purple, Mary in red, and we get their hair on there, we'll know what they are. Everybody looking at it will know what they are. And I really wish I had a silver paint pen tonight because I feel the need to write up and around the moon. I put a spell on you and now you're mine. Wouldn't that be fun? Right up and around the moon. Anyway, I'm going to get a little more clean white and paint their hair on there in white, and then we'll start layering colors on. Okay, so I got a little more paint. I was running out of white paint, so I got a little more white paint, and I've got my pointy brush because I want to put the S up here for Sarah's hair, just in white. We're giving it that nice base to be able to put the dark purple on later. Oh, a clever little witch. Okay. So Mary's is, it's going to be an S, so she has that curly Q up there. And Winifred's is a kind of a heart. Again, I'm just doing this in white just to give me that background to lay color on. Oh no, Winifred's heart hair is uneven. There we go. And Sarah's is wisping over this way. There we go. Oh, Winifred's her heart hair is still uneven. I have to fix that. Can't have uneven heart hair. Okay, so we'll take another few minutes, and then I'm just going to start laying color on. So I'm going to go back to the part that I did first. I'm going to do Winnie's dress because her white should be dry. Don't try to put color over top of wet white paint because you'll just pick it back up. You want to make sure if you're going to lay color over top of it that it's going to be dry. So I'm going to start on Winnie's dress. And let's see if we can find a different brush. One of my medium brushes. Phthalo green is lovely because it's like a tealy green. So I'm going to fill her in with this tealy green. You could add a little bit of yellow. You could add a little bit of white. I wouldn't be afraid of that. But I'm painting right over top of that white background that I already have there. So green, ooh, a little yellow, a little white because I love that lime color. Oh yeah. And I'll give her definition by putting a little belt around her waist and the collar around her neck. But for now, I'm just going to fill her in. I'm using green, little yellow, little white. This is one of those paintings. It's so detailed. And some of us spend a lot of time on details and some of us don't, and that's okay. But I know we're all going to move at a different pace. So don't get frustrated if you're moving behind where I'm at or where your neighbor's at. Just move at your own pace. Again, you can go back and watch the video later. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm going to move at my pace right now. So for Winnie's dress, I'm just pulling it down, pulling down and letting go. I might have a little blue show there beneath it. That's okay. But I'm just pulling down and letting go, and then knowing that I'm going to put Sarah's and Mary's dress over top of where Winnie's leaves off. Okay. Well, I'm going to paint her neck in case some of it shows through. So make sure you paint Winnie's neck. Right, that would be the back of her dress. Okay. So again, we're working in layers, right? I have that first layer. I'm going to move on. Doesn't look like much right now, and it looks a little messy, but it's okay. I'm going to move on to, who should I do next? I'm going to work on Sarah's dress next. So I'm going to mix a little red and a little blue, and that'll give me a lovely purple for her. A little white too. A little white doesn't hurt. So a little red, a little blue, tiny bit of white. Her arms. Oh, I need to get her neck on close. I'm gonna make her arms a little lighter just so they stand out from her body. Stand out from her dress, I should say. Sweeping that down in front. Again, this is just the first layer of color. We'll go back and add more detail, but I want to get that first layer of color on there. And I kind of like how the dresses come down and they just kind of fade away into nothing. You can fill that dress completely in. You don't have to. Sure, what I'm going to do here. Hey. Ooh, a black cat outline in the moon? I think you should, Gretchen. Before you do it though, draw your black cat outline on a plate. Draw it on a paper and see how you feel about it. Okay. And Mary on the left, let's get her dress colors on there. Her dress is, in the painting, it's very orange, but in the movie it's very red. So, I don't know. I think mine's going to be more red than orange. I don't know though. We'll see what makes me happy. I'm never sure. And just like in the painting, her hair is purple, but her hair is very black. So I might make her hair black. It's my painting. I can do that, right? My own artistic interpretation. Okay, so I'm getting the color for their dresses on here, and then I'm going to go to their hair, and get their first layer of hair. And I'm going to get more and more detailed as we go. So you can get as detailed as you want, or you can stay as simple as you want. There's no right or wrong here. For the sake of time, I will probably stay pretty basic. I probably won't get very detailed, but you can sit and paint as long as you want and get as detailed as you want. I do want to point out, though, I have a place where you can see Winifred's dress should be behind Mary's dress, and it's not. You can see the green paint through. The only way to patch that is to add a little bit of white. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because I definitely want Winifred's dress behind Mary's dress. So I'm going to patch that with a little bit of white. I like that. Like a little highlight from the moon. I thought I was going to patch it and then cover it later, but I don't know that I'm going to. So keep going, keep playing, have fun, make it your own. I don't want to get too detailed in my dresses yet. I want to let them dry a little. So I'm going to move on to hair. And again, in the painting, Matronly Mary, her hair is a real dark blue purple. I'm thinking about black. Because in the movie, her hair is black. Maybe I'll do black and then add a little bit of white and purple back over it. Let's see. Okay. There we go. There's Mary's hair. And let me paint in Winifred's hair orange. This is where, if you got paint from the studio, this is where I was thinking the brown might come in. You might put a little bit of brown in Winifred's hair. Not sure. You might put a little bit of brown in Sarah's hair too. That's why I gave you the brown, just in case, because I couldn't decide. I wanted you to be able to make that decision for yourself. So let's paint Winifred's heart hair in. This makes me happy. Bye-bye. Sorry, still quoting the movie. Okay. And then Sarah's hair with some yellow and white, maybe a little brown, I'm not sure. How are you guys doing out there? Everything's awfully quiet. We're all super duper focused. Everybody take a big deep breath. I know at this point, I could stop this painting where it's at, and I know exactly what it is. So again, detail, it's as far as you want to go with it. For those of you that have not joined us before, for those of you that have, keep going. But for those of you that have not joined us before, there will come a point that I will call this painting done. It's usually somewhere between 8:45 and 9 o'clock. When I call the painting done, I'll give you an hour to send me. I love to see selfies. I love to see you with your painting. To send me a picture of you with your painting, either private message it to the studio or email it to the studio, email it to me. And at the end of that hour, I'll take everything and collage it together into a group video, a little group picture that I can put out on social media. Because if we were at the studio, that's something we would do. We would take a group photo. But since we're not at the studio, this is a way we can still have our group photo at the end. Oh, fun. And thank you again for painting with me tonight. This makes me happy. Painting makes me happy. I hope it makes you happy. Okay, so at this point, my ladies are all, they're there, they're covered. They've got their dress colors, their hair colors. And now I can go back and start to add some more detail. So let's see, I can put, I'm gonna go back to Winifred because she's the first dress I did. So she should be the driest. If you're going to add a little bit of yellow detailing to her, like I'm gonna give her a yellow frilly collar, you have to add a little bit of white to your yellow to make it pop. If I just put yellow on there, it's gonna look kind of funky and dark. You have to add a little bit of white to it. So I happen to have a little bit of yellow and white because I was just working on Sexy Sarah's hair. So I've got my pointy brush, and I'm gonna put a little yellow collar here on her dress, a little curl. Oh, that's fun. A little curl right there at her neck. I'm gonna give her a little fun curly waistband. Just something to identify her waist. Again, as detailed or as plain as you want, up to you. Streaks in her dress. And then I'm going to go to Mary. So you see I'm going in order, right? I went to Winifred's detailing first because she was the first one I did, so she's the driest. Mary, I did her dress next, so I'm going to move to her because she's going to be drier than Sarah. Okay. And let's see. For Mary, I want to give her a waistband here. Just playing a little bit, just identifying her dress a little, different parts of her dress. Again, you can play as much as you want, as little as you want, but just keep moving in order, right? Go to the one that's the driest first. So you're not picking up half-dried paint. And then over to Sarah. I really like that she has pink arms. Like her dress is very bustier. Oh, and I like that she has a little fringe frill happening down here. Oh, my movie's over. I'm gonna have to start it again. Okay, pardon me while I start my movie again. Okay, so again, their dresses, play as much as you want in there, right? And then I'm gonna head up to their hair. And let's see, I think for Mary's, I'm gonna take white and a little bit of purple, white, a little red, a little blue, and I'm gonna go right in the middle of her S swirl there, just to accentuate it. Just like that. I'm gonna take a little orange, maybe a tiny bit of black, I'm not sure, and put some little curls in Winifred's hair. You know, I might do orange and red first. The black is gonna be too much. That's fun. Orange and red, and do some swirls. I'm just scribbling with my little brush. It's just adding a little texture. And then Sarah's, I think I'm just gonna do some white streaks in her hair. Oh. You know what? I think I might almost be done. Yeah, I'm good with where I'm at. I still really want a paint pen, I think. To write up and around a silver paint pen. I put a spell on you and now you're mine. That would be fun. But I think for our purposes here this evening, I just keep playing in Winifred's hair, making it a mess, because it really is a mess of curls, right? All right. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call mine done. I don't know, I might put a few more touches on here. Before I sign off for the night, though, I will open it up so we can chat for a little bit once I stop the recording. So I'm going to do a couple more things here. And then you guys need to just keep playing, having fun. Okay, yep, I think I'm going to call mine done. So I'm going to make sure and sign my painting. Artists usually sign on the bottom left or the bottom right. I say usually because it's up to you. You can sign any place you want. If you don't want to sign on the front, you can sign on the back. If you sign on the back, never here, always out here. You don't want it to bleed through. If you're going to sign with a Sharpie or a paint pen, you don't want it to bleed through if you sign here. Sign out on the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and sign mine right down here in the corner with my paint pen because I'm bad at signing with the brush. S, blah, 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 and a little tick 20. And there we go. I'm calling that done. All right. So how about I will give you until 10 o'clock to send a picture of you and your painting. I love to see your faces. So take a selfie of you with your painting and send it to me. And I'm going to unmute, give everybody the opportunity to unmute, and we can chat for a little bit if you want. But I'm going to go ahead and end the recording for tonight. So you guys keep painting while I end this. So thank you all so much for joining me. I'm Shauna Sue with Crooked Door Studio in Marysville, Ohio, with Painting Through the Pandemic. Thank you so much for painting with me tonight. This was a lot of fun. So until next time, I will see you all then. Thanks.